Hey, lovely. So it is Sunday, October 13th, 2024, and the Drop 'em 78 challenge begins in 2 days on Tuesday. Launch party at noon Pacific time. Lots of linkety links below with information, ways to get more information about the challenge, about me, about registering for the challenge if you care to. Today's video is something I wanted to film for a while. I want to talk about two things in today's video. I want to talk about the 3D or 4D, that's the more advanced option, format for journaling or posting your daily readings with the Drop 'em 78. So I want to talk about that. And then I also want to talk about this thing that I call calibration. So let's talk about the 3D and 4D for a minute. So the thing about the Drop 'em 78, there's a specific order in which we're going through the decks. More info about that in other videos, links below, etc., etc. The order is something that resonates with an embodied awareness practice that really with mindful tarot itself, where we're beginning with the here and now, with the body. We begin with the pentacles. That's our starting point. We start with the Ace of Pentacles and go through the pentacles, and then we move to the wands, responding with the wands as the suit of response and engagement. And then we move into the cups. The cups is the suit of opening, of receptivity, of that flow, that interpersonal flow of the heart. So opening with the cups, D-R-O. And then we move into the swords, that suit of discernment, of the airy, comprehensive qualities of a human life, our ability to think. So piercing through with the swords, D-R-O-P. And then we move into the majors, into the suit of manifestation, starting with the Fool and ending with the World on December 31st. So that's the order in which we go through the deck, one card at a time, one day at a time. But I also encourage a specific format for posting about the card each day, and that's this 3D or 4D format. Now, you're not back in high school, you're not back in college, you're not back in graduate school or or whatever, right? This is your you're watching me babble on about tarot because you love tarot. So this is all for you. Every year I'm amused and also touched by the fact that people think, oh, am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it the right way? There really is no wrong way to play with the tarot, right? Right? There's no wrong way, right? But this ain't my first rodeo. This isn't even my second rodeo as a teacher, right? So I do recommend a little bit of structure and discipline, particularly if you're starting out. And here's the structure I recommend. And that is each day you post the picture of your card. Again, you don't have to post any of this, but this is assuming that you want to be in a kind of public setting for this, that it helps with accountability. And so that's what our Facebook page is for. But maybe you're just doing this for yourself and you don't want to mess with the evil universe of social media. Totally get it. You begin, maybe take a photo. That's your card. You have it on your smartphone, perhaps with you all day long. And your starting point is D1, which is just the definition, right? The guidebook definition of that card, the common knowledge, the Wikipedia knowledge of the card for the day. So if you're really sort of at the beginning of your tarot journey, and part of the Drop 'em 78 for you is to actually get familiar with the 78 cards so that oh, it's an 8 of Pentacles, that's all about blah, blah, blah. That kind of study. It's like learning a language. You need to study your vocabulary lists, right? This may be a point where you're actually looking at guidebooks, or you're actually going online, or you're calling up your tarot buddies and saying, what the hell is the 8 of Pentacles all about? It may also be that you're working with a deck that has its own guidebook, and that guidebook carries some useful information about each of the cards. I encourage you to consult that information. I encourage you to explore what it is that is common knowledge about this card, what it is that you can bring out to the tarot community. Now, we all have our own interpretations, but this is the place where we're trying to be in conversation with other tarot readers. So let's just play this out. I've got Conrad Stain's CS Tarot here, and I'm just going to pick a card. I don't want to pick. Let me see if I can find a minor. Okay, here we've got the 6 of Pentacles. Beautiful, Conrad Stain. Beautiful, beautiful. So, Six of Pentacles, D1. This is really where I'm asking, what is the guidebook saying about this card? What is the common knowledge? And so I might have words here about generosity, about the universe's balance of giving and receiving. I might say something about, this is a pentacle, one of the pentacles. It's about the world of resource, the given world, the natural world, the world of things living and dying, of value, of materiality and embodiment. So this is about the give and take of the natural world. Okay? Six of Pentacles, a card that's about generosity. Now you may have, individual results may vary, and you may have other received knowledge of what the Six of Pentacles is, or you might be working with the Crowley-Harris deck or another lineage of tarot where there might be other received meanings for the Six of Discs or the Six of Coins. That's fine. Wherever you are with the particular deck you're working with, what is the received knowledge as you understand it about this card? D2. Now this is where we dive a little bit deeper, opening ourselves to the reservoir of our own intuitive heart. And we dive deeper in D2 with looking for a detail about the card. In a kind of literary or art history terms, we might call this close reading, where we want to just find something a little bit precise and specific that helps us drop down a deeper level. And if, in this case, it might be that it's something like, oh, there's 4 coins dropping here. Or it might be, oh, my eyes are drawn to this patch of red. Or it might be looking at the way in which the balance is even though he's tilted toward one of the beggars and not to the other. Or it might be the way in which the pentacles at the top are themselves like a balance. Or it might have something to do with the castle in the background. Or it might have something to do with the color choice that's being used. Oh, the red of his cloak. Whatever it is, the encouragement here is not to try to get clever. It's to find a detail that catches your eye. Because if it catches your eye right now, and in a sort of surprising way, something you didn't see at first, perhaps, then it's important to you. What catches your eye is, by definition, what is important to you. And there's something there that you know, something there that you're intuitively finding in the card. So follow that. So I think the detail I want to focus on is these 4 coins, because I've never seen it before. This is a card I've thought a lot about and that I've read many times and talked about many times, but I've actually never really paid attention to those 4 coins. And what's really curious to me about these 4 coins is that there are 2 that come first, and then there's a gap, and there's 2 more. I'm really interested in that gap. It's like he started to give something, and then he paused, and then he gave a little bit more. It reminds me of this thing that we do in Zen temples when we're offering incense, that you'll like chip incense, that kind that's like granular that you put right on a burning coal, right? And the smoke comes up. So this thing we do in Zen temples is we'll take a little bit of chip incense, hold it to our forehead, put it on the burning coal, and then we take a little bit more. So our offering has these 2 beats to it, and it's like this kind of practice of encouraging ourselves to give a little bit more, to work with our own withholding. Does that make sense? So what I'm seeing here in the gap is like the importance of working with my own withholding. There's a kind of shadowy side in this generosity card I've often been aware of, like, he's giving to one beggar and not giving to the other. And it calls out the way in which generosity is for me really tied to withholding, and that I have to work a little bit. I have to work with my own selfishness. Selfishness is such a loaded word. My own hesitancy in giving freely. That gap to me is about the possibility of exhaling and giving a little bit more, that extra little offering. Okay, that was my D2. Now D3 is all about the day. And this is really, really where the rubber meets the road in Mindful Tarot, right? Why we do the Drop 'em 78 to begin with. Mindful Tarot, the very premise of it is that that tarot is this spiritual tool par excellence to help me really drop into the here and now of my present moment experience, to really be with my life just as it is. And in being with my life just as it is, in that, full-on mindful presence, right? Being in the here and now, really showing up for my life, what I will encounter is that everything is right here. Nothing is broken. Nothing is missing. And so the D3, which is about day, is this invitation every day in the Drop 'em 78 to meet the day with the card of the day, and to invite myself to find the meaning of the card in the experience of this day, to really enter into this present moment context for reading. That from a Mindful Tarot perspective, there is no possibility to read tarot in the abstract. It's all about being here in the moment. This is why, for instance, I will never do, I don't know, not that many people do this successfully, but I just, my approach to tarot, I will never do remote readings where someone sends me a question and I read cards for them and then I send them the answer. To me, that's not how tarot works as a spiritual tool. It's not my tool. My tool is tied up to mindfulness and to a present moment practice. I'm not clairvoyant. The cards aren't allowing me to channel knowledge from somewhere else. It's all about opening up to the here and now. So D3, day. Now my task is to say, how is today a Six of Pentacles day? How can I read the meaning of this card through my life experience today, through this day? How does this day help me understand this card? And how does this card illuminate my day? I talk about D3, day, that element, that dimension of reading. I often talk about that as reading the card through the field of my life, and reading my life through the field of the card. That what I'm opening up is that field of intuitive knowing that's here in the present moment. That's this huge reservoir of understanding and insight. And it's mine. It's all here. It's all in me. Drop 'em 78 is about dropping into that reservoir of knowing. Do you see what I mean? Does that make any sense at all? I'm asking you as if you can answer me. Of course, you can answer me in the comments below, but I kind of wish you were here and we could just talk. Okay, so D3. So, for example, today. So it's about 2:30. Is that right? 3 o'clock. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. And so my day has been going, and I'm thinking, well, how has today been a Six of Pentacles day? And actually, I'm grappling with a specific question that's related to a community that I'm a part of, where I'm in a position of holding some kind of authority and judgment. And I'm realizing that my position of authority also brings with it a need to open my heart with compassion toward some individuals that I'm encountering, that I have to, there's some work that I need to do with them as an authority figure. And so I'm aware of the gap here, that there's, on the one hand, there's a first, I bring forward my heart in this position of authority. I'm like the noble person. I have some stature because I have a position of authority. But then there's an extra piece of yielding, of surrender, of opening my heart and myself, that is difficult because I'm the authority figure in this scenario that I'm living out right now. It's been something that's been active for me today. I am not, this is not a relationship of peers. I have authority. So how do I hold that authority and then surrender? How do I find generosity in my authority? So I'm speaking in slightly vague terms because, it's a real life situation. And you might find yourself speaking in somewhat vague terms if you're posting publicly about something that's a little tender, a little delicate. That's fine. This is really for you. But do you see what I did there? I actually learned something just in this video today about a card that I thought I knew well. I learned something about this gap at the heart of generosity, and I learned something about authority and its relationship to generosity by applying the card to my life today and by applying my life to the card. That's D3. D1, definition. D2, detail. D3, day. Now, if you're just starting out, this is your first Drop 'em 78, or you're new to the tarot, that is great. That's like all you need. But if there's a little something that you want to do beyond that, then you might talk about calibration. And calibration happens when we bring another deck side by side with our first deck, a side piece deck, sometimes I say, that helps us open a further level of meaning. This is D4. So you could do 3D or you could do 4D. If you're just starting out, do 3D. If this ain't your first rodeo, you might end up wanting to work with a calibrating deck. A calibrating deck is really, really helpful if you're working with a deck that's new, that's abstract, that's maybe from a different tarot lineage. Maybe you're working with you're a Rider-Waite-Smith gal and you're deciding you're going to work with the Crowley-Harris, the Thoth deck. So your calibrating deck, the encouragement is to pick a deck that is familiar to you and to either work with that deck in a direct comparison. This is what I recommend the most, apples to apples. So let's say I'm working with, I'm using a Marseille deck to calibrate the Waite-Smith. So I might then find, find the Six of Pentacles. So I have my main deck, a Waite-Smith deck, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to calibrate it with a Marseille deck. So I'm using the Six of Coins to calibrate this deck. Now, this is my target. This is what I want to be talking about. If I'm calibrating with another deck, this is really like, it's like the movement of metaphor, I often say. You know, like a metaphor like, my love is a red, red rose. I'm trying to talk about my love, and I'm using the image of a rose to do it. Rose is more concrete. I might have all sorts of feelings about roses. They're beautiful. They bloom just for a day, and then they fade. Their fragrance is sweet, but as they fade, they might start to smell. They dry up. My love is wonderful. She's fresh as a rose, and her beauty might be also as vulnerable as a rose. Or the feeling of my love is fresh and sweet, but it can fade, right? So the metaphor has a target, talking about the love, and then it has a kind of source material, in this case the rose, that is helping me talk about the target. Now, I have other videos about calibration, so I refer you to some of those. I think I have some linkity links down below about that. For now, thinking about a tarot deck, how I might be wanting to talk about this card and using another card to do so. So another deck to do so. So here I have the Six of Coins. I call this apples to apples calibration because I'm comparing the Six of Pentacles with the Six of Coins. I'm comparing apples to apples. Calibration is a comparative technique, right? It's just the movement of comparison. So what might I say? If I'm doing using a calibrating deck, now I'm talking about D4, discovery, what I can discover through calibration. So in this case, what I find myself noticing is, first and foremost, just how completely balanced the Six of Coins is. That it's got above and below, and they reflect each other pretty perfectly, right? In fact, this card is so perfectly reversible. Upside, downside, it's the same. But that relationship between above and below is not what we see in the Waite-Smith imagery. There's both the unevenness between the noblemen and the beggars, right? He's in a position to give, they're in a position to receive. And then there's also the way in which the pentacles themselves are not even. So in this calibration, what I discover is, oh, maybe the Six of Pentacles, what it's really about, what I have to understand so much about it, is the importance of balance and harmony, and how vulnerable that is in the movement of giving and taking. It's so easy for the giving and the receiving to not be in balance, to not be in harmony. So do you see what I did there? How this D4, this discovery through my calibration deck, allowed me to say something more about the Six of Pentacles. That's apples to apples. Now I might also do apples to origins to oranges calibration, where I have my calibrating deck, and instead of picking the Six of Pentacles to compare with the Six of Pentacles, I just pick a card at random, apples to oranges, and see what that discovery brings. Okay, so I've got the Emperor. So if this is my calibrating card, this is my source, this is my target. I still want to talk about the Six of Pentacles, but now what I'm finding is, the Six of Pentacles, it can be about power. It can be about the order that the Emperor brings. That this is a card that has in it, despite the ways in which it's about balance, it's a card that for me, one of the things that I notice about it, one of the things I discover about it, D4, is that it might be about power, about rule, about the kind of ordering world of the scepter and sway of this Emperor. And I'm also noticing the Four of the Emperor and the way that that relates to those 4 coins that I noticed in my detail. So a lot starts to become apparent when I do the D4, the discovery, with a calibrating deck, which I can use apples to apples, comparing the Six of Pentacles to the Six of Coins, or I can do it apples to oranges, where I just pick a card at random for my calibrating deck. Again, if you're new to Drop 'em, I don't think you should use a calibrating deck. If you do use a calibrating deck, just be really clear that you have your main deck, which is the deck you're trying to understand. In your calibrating deck, it's like the image of the rose in that line from Robert Burns's poem, "My love is like a red, red rose." I'm not so interested in roses. I'm very interested in my love. I'm not so interested in this example in the Tarot de Marseille. I am interested in this tarot deck, using this to help clarify this. Okay. 3D, 4D, and the question of calibration. I hope that this is enlivening and helpful. And yeah, drop them, people. So yeah, linkity links below. Join the community, join the fun. And if all this is kind of like, I don't understand anything, come on Tuesday to the launch party and ask your questions in person. And or if you can't make it and you've registered, you'll get the video, and hopefully that will be helpful in answering the questions that you have. Okay. Whew. Thank you all for watching, and thank you so much for your practice. I hope you guys are excited as I am for this year's Drop 'em. Take good care. Toodles.